Max Verstappen scored an important victory in his bid for a maiden Formula 1 World Championship on Sunday as Red Bull's audacious strategy won him the United States Grand Prix. Verstappen and title rival Lewis Hamilton locked out the front row of the grid, setting up a Texas shootout at the Circuit of the Americas, but it turned into one of the most strategic and compelling races of the year. Hamilton muscled his way past Verstappen on the uphill run to turn 1, meaning Red Bull could not make its tyre advantage on the mediums pay off. It forced the team into pitting Verstappen far earlier than anyone expected, in a risky but ultimately very rewarding call. So how did Verstappen and Red Bull pull off such a bold strategy, and why was Mercedes unable to respond? Mercedes have been struggling with its rear tyres throughout the weekend at COTA, a track which is renowned for being tough on tyres due to its abrasive surface and high-speed nature. This leads to high tyre degradation, giving drivers a real challenge when it comes to tyre management. It looked like Hamilton had done the tough part by overtaking Verstappen at the start, but it quickly became clear that Mercedes was struggling. Verstappen noticed Hamilton was sliding around a lot and said he was much faster as he moved to within a second of the Mercedes and got DRS on lap 3. But instead of waiting to see if Verstappen could overtake on track, Red Bull wanted to take control of the race and gain position by pitting first and getting the undercut, which is very powerful in Austin because of the high tyre degradation. This prompted Red Bull to pit Verstappen on lap 10 and take a set of hard tyres, leaving Hamilton alone in the lead. Mercedes data suggested it was still too early to come into the pits, meaning it did not respond immediately. Hamilton stayed out 3 laps longer than Verstappen to open up a small tyre advantage, but when he pitted, it meant that Red Bull was now ahead. Verstappen had been putting in quick sectors and led by 6 seconds once Hamilton did pit at the end of lap 13. The tyre delta began to help Hamilton though. With slightly fresher tyres, his times gradually got quicker and quicker, and the gap at the front came down as he gained around half a second per lap on Verstappen. When Hamilton got within 3 seconds of Verstappen, Red Bull was forced into action, believing that it was the danger point for the undercut. Verstappen was called into the pits at the end of lap 29 to protect his lead, but it meant he'd have to go 27 laps to the finish on a set of hards. Some people on the Red Bull pit wall had doubts about making it work after analysing the worn tyres that came off Verstappen's car. He now had to create a gap to Hamilton whilst also keeping his tyres alive. Now before we get into the decisive moment of the USGP, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor for this series, Party Poker, who currently have a special sign up offer. If you go to the link in the description and open a new account and deposit £10 or more today, Party Poker will match you on deposits up to £400 and give you £40 worth of free play. Naturally, this is only available if you are over 18 and T's and C's apply. Please be gamble aware and play responsibly. Now, back on track in Austin, and Mercedes had committed to keeping Lewis Hamilton out, telling him to go 6 laps longer than planned and create another tyre delta. Hamilton eventually pitted at the end of lap 37, meaning his tyres would be 8 laps fresher than Verstappen for the final charge to the checkered flag. Hamilton came out of the pits 8.8 seconds behind Verstappen, but quickly put the hammer down, taking out more than 1 second per lap at points with his fresh rubber. Hamilton moved within 2 seconds of the lead, forcing Red Bull to tell Verstappen to keep his rear tyres fresh enough to protect himself from an attack. But with 5 laps to go, the gap stabilised. Verstappen had managed his tyres perfectly, ensuring there was enough life in them to respond to Hamilton's pace even as he dealt with back markers. Hamilton was within a second of Verstappen as they came close to beginning the final lap, but with some help from DRS off Mick Schumacher's car, Verstappen was able to hang on and take a famous victory for Red Bull. It means that Verstappen now leads Hamilton by 12 points at the top of the Drivers' Championship, and come the end of the season, it could all come down to Red Bull's bold strategy call in Austin to decide who becomes world champion. That was the winning formula for the United States Grand Prix. Please let us know your thoughts on Red Bull's strategy in the comments below, and we'll see you again after the Mexican Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time.